The Glories of 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita from the Padma Purana. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Parvati, now I will relate to you the glories of the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible to tell its full glories, as there are thousands of stories. I will relate one of them only. On the bank of Pranita river is a large town of the name Megankara, in which is the famous temple of Jagat Ishvara. Jagat Ishvara is holding in his hand a bow. In that town of Megankara, there was a pure Brahmana of the name Sunanda who remained a brahmachari his whole life. Sunanda would sit in front of Lord Jagat Ishvara and recite the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and remember the universal form of the Lord. By reciting that 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he gained complete control over his senses and was able to remember Lord Jagat Ishvara continuously. Once that pure Brahmana Sunanda went on a tour of the holy places on the banks of the Godavari river. He visited all the sacred places, starting with Vraja Tirtha. In all the holy places he visited, he bathed and took darshan of the presiding deity. One day he reached the town of Vivian Mandela. Along with his associates, he searched for a place to stay, and eventually in the middle of the town they found a dharmshala where they all took rest for the night. When Sunanda woke up in the morning, he found that all his associates had left. While searching for them, he met the headman of the town, who immediately fell at his feet and said, "O great sage, I cannot say where your associates have gone, but I can tell you that there is no devotee equal to you. I have never seen anyone as pure as you. O my dear Brahmana, I am begging you to stay in this town." When Sunanda heard the humble request of the headman of the town, he decided to stay for some days. That headman made every arrangement for the comfortable stay of Sunanda and engaged in his service day and night. After 8 days had passed, one villager came before Sunanda crying very loudly and said, "O pure Brahmana, last night one Rakshasa ate my son." Sunanda inquired, "Where does that Rakshasa stay and how did he eat your son?" The villager replied, "In this town one very frightful Rakshasa lives, who every day was eating villagers as and when he pleased. One day we all went to the Rakshasa and requested him to protect us, in return for which we would provide him with his daily food. One dharmshala was built and any travelers who came there were sent there to stay, and while they were sleeping, the Rakshasa would eat them. In this way we have been able to protect ourselves from this Rakshasa. You, along with your associates, stayed at the dharmshala, but the Rakshasa did not eat you or your associates. The reason I will tell you. Last night a friend of my son came, but I did not realize that he was a very close and dear friend of my son. So I sent him to stay in the dharmshala. Later when my son found out, he went after him to try and bring him back from dharmshala, but when he went there, he was also eaten by that Rakshasa. Today in the morning, I went to that Rakshasa and asked him why he had eaten my son along with the other travelers. I also requested him if there was any way I could get my son back. The Rakshasa told me, "I did not know that your son had also entered the dharmshala. Thus he was eaten with everyone else. As far as getting him back, that will be possible when I am freed from this Rakshasa body, which will be possible by the mercy of a person who recites 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita daily." Right now there is one Brahmana staying in this town who had stayed at this dharmshala, but I had not eaten him because he daily recites the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. If he daily recites the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita 7 times, then sprinkles water on me, then I will be able to get free from the curse of this Rakshasa body. Sunanda inquired from the villager, "What sin did this person perform to attain the Rakshasa body?" The villager replied, "Long ago there had been a farmer living in this town. One day he was guarding the fields when just a little distance from him, one large vulture attacked a person who was traveling on the road. At that time, one yogi was passing by, and when he saw that person being attacked by that vulture, he came running to his aid, but when he reached him, it was too late. Then that yogi became very angry with the farmer and spoke to him as follows: one who sees others in danger from thieves, snakes, fire, attack by weapon, etc., and even though he is capable of helping them but does not come to help, is punished by Yamraj. After suffering in hell for a very long time, he takes birth as a wolf. And one who helps someone in need of help certainly pleases Lord Vishnu. One who attempts to save a cow from the hands of a ferocious animal, a low-class man, or a wicked ruler attains Lord Vishnu. Wicked farmer, you saw that vulture attacking that person, but still you made no attempt to save him? Now I curse you to take birth as a Rakshasa. The farmer said, I was watching the fields for the whole night and I am very tired. So kindly be merciful to me, O great sage. The yogi replied, when someone who is daily reciting the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita sprinkles water on your head, then you will become free from this curse. The villager said, my dear Sunanda, with your hand kindly sprinkle water on the head of this Rakshasa. After hearing that history from the villager, Sunanda went along with him to the place where the Rakshasa was staying, and while he was reciting the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, sprinkled water on his head. That Rakshasa immediately attained a 4-armed form like that of Lord Vishnu. Not only he, but all the thousands of persons he had eaten also attained a 4-armed form like that of Lord Vishnu. Then they all sat down in the flower aeroplane, which had been sent to take them all to Vaikuntha. Seeing those amazing events, the villagers inquired from Rakshasa which one was his son. The Rakshasa started to laugh and pointed at one of those thousands of beautiful persons sitting in a transcendental airplane and replied, that is your son. The villager requested his son to come home with him. Hearing his father's request, the son smilingly replied, my dear sir, many times you have been my son and I yours. But now by the grace of this great pure devotee Sunanda, I have been released from this wheel of birth and death, and now I am going back to my real home, Vaikuntha. Dear sir, kindly surrender under the lotus feet of Sunanda and hear from him the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and you will also be able to attain the abode of Lord Vishnu, Vaikuntha. Of this there is no doubt. From Lord Krishna's mouth, these nectarine instructions came on the battlefield of Kurukshetra in reply to the questions of his friend Arjuna, and only by hearing and reciting this discourse can one break the tight knot which is binding us to this wheel of birth and death. Lord Shiva said, after speaking those words full of wisdom to his father, along with all those other fortunate souls, he went to Vaikuntha, and his father learned the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita from Sunanda, and very soon they also went to Vaikuntha. My dear Parvati, you have heard the glories of the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is capable of destroying all sinful reactions. Thus ends the glories of 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita from the Padma Purana.